Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Corporate Jet Investor Town Hall. This week, we have a special town hall looking ahead at the US business aviation landscape. This is brought to us by Airbus Corporate Jets. Airbus Corporate Jets has also produced some research just for this town hall. So what I'm going to do first of all is hand over to Louis Manuel Barrajon, Sales and Marketing Director of Airbus Corporate Jets. Louis, how are you?
Good, very good. Yourself?
Very well. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do your presentation now.
Thank you very much, Al. Thanks, Corporate Jet Investor, for hosting this town hall, and great to have you all on board while we navigate through the US corporation, US business aviation world today, and as well what is looking ahead of us in the horizon. Putting aside a little bit all the noise, news, and the geopolitical context, yesterday there was a great town hall as well hosted by you, Al, on this topic. We can all agree that the US business aviation market is poised for a long-term growth. Part coming from the sheer benefits of using of corporate jets, the sector increased focus on new, more efficient jets, and also as well the contribution towards economic growth. At ACJ, as you mentioned, we are always listening to the market, the stakeholders, customers. So we wanted to take a closer look to key trends in this business aviation market, particularly in the US, and the finance sector which supports it. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the backbone of today's session can be split in 5 blocks, as you see there. First, a quick snapshot on where we are today and setting the scene. Then we will plunge towards the main takeaways of the ACJ Commission study, surveying senior executives of US corporations and as well US-based financial institutions and brokers, and wrapping all up, and based on those research findings, why ACJ solutions, more in particularly the AC220, could fit those needs and requirements now and the years to come. If we can go ahead. So this aviation in the US today is as solid as ever, and it's not just a means of transportation, but a true force multiplier for both companies and individuals. Today, the installed fleet is roughly 15,500 jets, and to put that into perspective, we are talking 65% of the worldwide fleet is located in the United States, and that's 5 times more than the number 2, which is Europe region. The average age, as you could see, is 19 years old, and there are some states where the average goes beyond 20 years of age. And the available aircraft in the market, roughly 8% of the total fleet currently or is installed is currently for sale. That's the total landscape. What happens if we focus now in the market where ACJ competes, the long range, ultra long range, and business market? If we go to the next slide. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, that one there. So in here, as you can see, there is no surprise on the regional distribution. First of all, the big 5. So California, Florida, Texas, New York and New Jersey area combined, and Illinois. The total or the volume of aircraft available for sale is reduced compared to the total fleet. We are talking here 6% roughly of the fleet installed, and also as well the average age is down, 11 years of age as the average for the fleet, which is normal because at the end we are talking about the top end of the pyramid in business aviation world. If we move along, please. So senior leadership of US corporations, they stress how business aviation is crucial and vital for their success and growth. As I mentioned before, it's a true force multiplier, helping companies to gain key efficiencies and advantages in productivity. Our study reveals that the vast majority of these companies surveyed, they plan to upgrade for better, newer, more efficient, and larger models as well, important, in the next 5 years. That is supported by several reasons. One is the increased range or the increased usage among executives in these companies flying corporate, therefore needing additional capacity and real estate to ensure staff well-being and productivity, because at the end it's an office in the skies while on board. If we move to the next slide, then we have as well companies which today may not be using general aviation, and they are relying on charter, fractional, or commercial aviation. And these companies as well recognizing the business benefits coming from general aviation. And the reasons, again, are pretty clear. Growing focus on efficiency, privacy, and security for their people, supporting the need for more efficient travel needs as well, reducing the flight time because they can go point to point easier than they would do in commercial aviation, introduction of new, more efficient jets, and the increased reach of their firms and travel requirements. They may have been going not international or just domestic close by, and now they are expanding to new horizons. So all in all, making more appealing for many of those organizations to start using business aviation for the first time. And if we go to the next slide, we see how to nurture that growth in the business aviation sector. Aircraft financing is key. Roughly 2/3 of brokers and financiers surveyed, they expect large business jet sales to increase. Again, fueled on one side this need of replacing and upgrading older aircraft by new and more efficient models, and as well due to the expansion of business aviation, the finance sector supporting that will become more available, or the financing solutions will become more available in the next 5 years. And in particular, as the appetite for these larger jets increases, it might become easier to secure finance against them with better rate, and as well the introductions to, or the growth of the operating leasing solutions for this market. If we go to the next slide. So based on that research, what we can see and the outcome and the different points that key people, senior executives, brokers, financiers, they highlighted, at Airbus, we are perfectly suited to cope with that upgrade and upsizing trend. And not only on the fixed wing side, but as well on the rotorcraft market. We are, if we put it in a very simple words, like a one-stop shop, offering both corporate helicopters and large jets in our portfolio, covering the travel needs, the corporate and travel needs, in the whole entirety, from first and last mile with the helicopters to the long-haul travel with our corporate jets. And to get a glimpse on the corporate helicopter market and the Airbus position within it, please, I want to introduce here Nitin Sareen, the head of marketing for Airbus Helicopters North America. Nitin, floor is yours.
Thank you, Luisma. Hello, everyone. It's great to be part of this town hall, and obviously as an extended member of the ACJ family, as Luisma mentioned. We are, in fact, the only OEM that offers both corporate helicopters and corporate jets. And before I dive into, giving you a snapshot on the business aviation market for helicopters for the US or North America, I just wanted to refresh everyone's memories around ACH. So actually, we took a leaf out of the ACJ book when we unveiled our dedicated brand and platform for corporate helicopters back in 2017. Since then, we've obviously rolled this offering all over the world, including here in the US. And certainly, what we're seeing is that the corporate helicopter market is not only strong here in the US, but is also thriving. And our position within that is pretty awesome as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so just to give you a snapshot on the 2024 market, when it comes to corporate helicopters for Airbus globally, we had quite a stellar year with about 76 bookings globally. 15 out of those were here in North America. We also delivered about 84 corporate helicopters all over the world. We had about 20 of those delivered here in North America. And this represents a significant value to us from a business point of view as well. representing about 587 million euros worth of gross bookings last year, as well as 460 million in terms of delivery. We have a pretty healthy backlog as well, and that is representative of a comprehensive fleet that we offer from the intermediate single engine helicopters to light twins to medium helicopters. And that is very well represented here in North America. So there's about, like Luisma was talking to you about corporate jet fleet, there's about 1,900 private and business use helicopters in the North American market. And our fleet represents about 20% of that in-service fleet. However, when you look at basically our market share, we are significantly higher. A trend basically that basically talks to the strong offering that we have amongst the different segments of the market. So the 125 and the 130, as listed here, are our single engine offerings. And then the 135 and the 145 are our twin engine offerings, light twin engine offerings in the market. And then we've now started to introduce also our latest medium offering with the ACH 160, and in fact, quite looking forward to the ACH 175 certification, which is expected this year with FAA. Next slide, please. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. Yeah, so just to give you a snapshot on the last 5 years, when you look at the North American market, what you see is between the three different product segments that I just talked about, the singles, the light twins, and the mediums, you've got about 160 million per year revenue value in the marketplace. ACH is pretty strong. If you look at the last 5 years, we've got average market share about 60% across that landscape. And another thing that I would like to highlight is that also with all these bookings that we do in a given year, about 1/3 of those are customers that are either new to helicopters or are new to Airbus, which talks to the growth that we see in this marketplace. And then the same thing, if you look at it from a forecast point of view going forward, from in the next 5-year period, we still expect in average about 30 aircraft being sold, new aircraft being sold in this marketplace per year. And then we also expect a growth in terms of the value piece. And that is on accord of basically where we are seeing a little shift in the twin engine space, where more and more corporations, businesses are going towards the medium class of helicopters from the light twins. And that's a trend that we expect to continue in the next 5 years. And then just to summarize, we have dozens and dozens of our customers here in the US that are Fortune 500 companies. And what makes it fascinating is that the value that these helicopters provide, in addition to the business jets that most of these businesses have anyway. So there, of course, ACJ and ACH working together, I think really is set up well to answer any of your business and corporate needs going into the future. Back to you, Luisma.
Thank you, Nitin. So if we go to the next slide, we're gonna come back to the fixed wing world. Just to put a little bit on perspective, the ACJ family worldwide, we have more than 210 aircraft flying in all different continents, and our DNA is common to all our platforms. So I'm going to talk today more about the 220, but it's common as well with the 320neo family, 330 or 350. We create cabins, we create aircraft where all on board can experience space, innovation, and comfort like any other jet. We benefit as well from the solid and very mature Airbus heritage, so the ACJ and robust platforms to ensure seamless operations. And the last point as well, we understand how flexibility and productivity is extremely important in this aviation world. So that's the reason why when choosing an ACJ, our customers are surrounded with those pioneering technologies which derive in very strong operating cost efficiencies, where we are going to see together at the end of this presentation. If we move along, please. In terms of our customer base, we have a very diverse and varied customer base, with very specific needs, which we are again very well positioned to fulfill. On one side, we have governments, which they are looking for capacity, cabin efficiency, as well as security. On the other side of the spectrum, we do have the private individuals, and in their customization, comfort, and performance take the lead. And in the middle ground, we do have corporate aviation, really sitting there in the middle, which is a business tool looking for performance and investment optimization for our customers. Next slide. As I was mentioning in the beginning, among all our ACJ aircraft in the family, I want to focus today a little bit more and dig deeper on the ACJ220. Our value proposition, the DNA that I was mentioning just a few seconds ago, is threefold. So first is comfort, then is performance and economics. And all of that intertwined with the latest innovation across the cabin and the aircraft itself. All of them are important, all of them are key. And the AC220 brings, I may say, the best of both worlds. So the acquisition cost of a large business jet, intercontinental range to reach our customers' goals or performance, and then the space and economics of a beastliner. So the AC220 may say that it sits there in the middle, providing the perfect balance and a choice without compromises. Let's now dig on each of these building blocks, starting maybe with the personal space. And for that, let me bring here to stage Ashley Moulton, Senior Interior Designer at Comlux, our exclusive aviation partner for the AC220 program. Hi, Ashley, floor's yours.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having this town hall. I'm very excited to be a part of this and share a little bit more about the ACJ 220. If we can go to the next slide. So I'm, as Luisma said, a senior interior designer at Comlux Completion. We are based in Indianapolis. Comlux as a whole, however, is a very international company. We're headquartered in Zurich, Switzerland. We have 8 locations throughout the world, each with different specialties, with more than 450 employees total. Here at the Completion Center, we opened in 2011, and we have about 300 employees here that are focused on the cabin interiors. Everything from the interior design, engineering, certification, the build and production, as well as certification and installation. We're all located here on site. As Luisma said, we're very knowledgeable in the ACJ models. Our history is rich in the ACJ world, so it was a natural transition for us to partner with ACJ for the A220 project. If we go to the next slide, you can see here, this is the overall cabin modularity design. So taking our Comlux fleet and our crew experience, we were able really to dig into the cabin options, knowing the 3 different typical customers, the government, the private, and the corporations. Overall, the cabin design was created by Sylvain Marriott from ACJ Design Studios. So we've had a great collaboration with him and his team to really create a cabin that, while it's modular, there are still many options that give the customers a feel where they are designing it for whatever need they want. So you can see we have 6 different zones. We have about 786 square feet total cabin space. So it is a very large cabin. When you come in, you can just feel the spaciousness of the interior, which I think really sets it apart from the rest of the business jets. We typically have 3 design ambiances to go along with the floor plan options. So of course the customers can select from those 3 designs that we've created or use those as inspiration for their own material selections and their design aesthetic. So with that, Louisa, I'll hand it back to you.
I don't know if I lost you because it seems that I lost connection for a little bit. So thanks, Ashley. The AC220 interior, as you would see, is this aircraft is crafted from the inside out, and the feeling of comfort is paramount and constantly present for sure. But is that enough? No. Our customers need productivity, flexibility to fly and to go to their destinations. And if you can go to the next slide, please, Oscar. So really, as you see there, we can deliver 12 hours, over 12 hours of non-stop range to the world. And you see there on the screen with that, what that autonomy would mean. From New York, all the Americas, Europe, Northern Africa, and the Middle East within reach. And in reality, one stop to the rest of the world. And I mentioned flexibility just in my previous sentence, and I did it on purpose. And if we go to the next slide, you see exactly as well what I was trying. Next slide, please. Yeah, that one. So the RCA220 is perfect for short, challenging airfields, not needing go to international airports, large runways to operate. If we compare, for instance, there with, you see, the Global 6500, we'll need less than 1,000 or 1,000 feet less of balancing length to take off at max takeoff weight. So that really means that we are going to match, if not improve, the operational flexibility for customers out there. The AC220 can get our customers where they want or from where they want to as well. ACJ airplanes, as I was mentioning, and the 220 for sure, can help companies, individuals expand their businesses and reach new heights. Cabin, performance, but as well all bundling that up with unbeatable economics. Please, next slide. By simply flying the AC220, our customers and operators can realize 1/3 operating cost savings. Built in with all new efficient design, latest technologies, extensive usage of advanced materials, we can provide a very optimized maintenance plan, improving the availability and reducing the cost, as you see there. Pairing all that with that cost-effective training for the air crew and the global Airbus footprint, as you can imagine, we have more than 14,000 14 and 30s after airplanes flying worldwide right now. Voila, we end up with up to $9 million savings on a 10-year lifespan versus any other large cabin competitor, 30% cheaper, which is not a small delta by any means. And that's on the operating cost, because if we go into the next slide, we see as well how and why ACJs are very robust assets to invest in with a very strong value retention. And the reasons behind that are again threefold, as I was mentioning, the DNA of the AC220. We are built to order. We do evolution and not revolution our developments. Everything which is developed for any aircraft on the family is retrofitted to the aircraft already in service, making sure that we have the latest standard flying. And then as well, we have very few ACJs in the marketplace for pre-owned transactions. So that helps as well keeping the residual values up. And as you can see there, on a year basis, basically our depreciation sits between 2 and 4, which on a median of 3%, very well tracking our past transactions on the ACJ 320CO family. And the last slide of this deck, I'm going there here. If we mix all together, acquisition price, operating expenses, and resale value, we can clearly see the economic excellence or the value for the value proposition of the AC220. On a 10-year utilization span, roughly $3 million savings per year versus competitors in the ULR marketplace. Corporate aviation is about maximizing time, creating a place where our customers can simply run their business or make any kind of compromises. Time is money, and money talks, as you see here. And this makes really the ACJ aircraft family and the ACJ 220 here in particular very strong, safe, resilient assets to invest in. Whether if it's greeting clients, going or flying to different destinations, making strategic decisions, or simply taking a break after long business days, we at ACJ, we have the portfolio, we have the assets to enable our customers to do so. Flying an ACJ is really about the productivity and the efficiencies that come with the aircraft. And that's really the reason we are in business, so we can bring our customers where it matters, when it matters. And that's the end of this presentation. And now we open the floor so you guys can shoot at us with any questions that you may have. Happy to take that. Thank you all.
Thanks very much, Luisma. That was great. We're very keen to have as many questions. We also have a few other people joining us. Chadi, Saade, President of Airbus Corporate Jets, needs no introduction, looking very corporate there, but also still very stylish. Ashley's coming back from Comlux, Nitin from Airbus Corporate Helicopters, and Robert Gates, the head of international sales at Global Jet Capital, coming to us from San Francisco. Robert, let's start with you. You saw the presentation. Are you surprised that US corporates seem to have an appetite for new jets?
Not at all, Al. Thanks for hosting this town hall. It was good to join. Before this latest discombobulation with tariffs, we were projecting quite strong growth in the global demand for large cabin aircraft. We saw something like in the Americas, we saw something around 200 deliveries in 2023, plus or minus. And we are looking out, when we last prepared our forecast, we are looking out in the 27, 28 timeframe, expecting that to go up to kind of 270, 280, 290 deliveries. So strong growth for this part of the world. A lot of the reasons Luisma touched on. People want to use business jets. They're gaining in popularity. They're not shrinking in popularity. The underlying demand is there and is strong. Obviously, the big caveat is what's happening here with global trade patterns and tariffs. That remains to be seen how that settles out. But pre that disturbance, we saw nothing but blue skies ahead.
And I know Global Jet Capital has a weekly sales meeting. I'm guessing you've had it. What are you guys hearing from your customers at the moment in the last week?
Yeah, no, clearly people are pumping the brakes. They're pausing to see what this all means. We're not seeing people saying, forget this, we're out. We're not saying, buy today. I think everybody's taking a cautious look to see how it's going to sort itself out. But there's still a lot of interest. We're still having conversations with people who want to make a move, but clearly this is causing people to pause a little bit.
Right. Chadi, going back to the survey, were you surprised by any of the findings?
Well, not really, Al. The analysis shows that there's clearly a significant number of business aircrafts in the US, and many of these are reaching a certain age, where we talk about 19 years old or even 20 years old in certain states. It's clearly a time where most of these owners are looking to sell these aircraft. And clearly this represents a great opportunity for us and for the other OEMs. So the US market is quite strong, as the survey shows, as Robert just mentioned. So no, I'm not surprised at all by the outcome.
And you and I have spoken lots of times since COVID, and I know that ACJ was seeing first-time buyers. Have you got through most of those now, or are there still some out there?
No, there is still a lot. It's difficult in a niche market like ours. It's difficult to give real statistics or how many first-time buyers or whatever. But I can share with you a little bit on the single aisle, which is I think it's more meaningful than the wide body segment. On the single aisle, what we noticed is over the past 10 years, roughly 16% of our sales were for first-time buyers and 61% were for upgrades. And the rest is for similar aircraft, similar sized aircraft also. What is important also to note is that these first-time buyers, most of the times actually they are first-time buyers, but they are actually chartering aircraft out there. And actually most of the times when they come to us is following an experience that they had on board another ACJ. Because one of the things is that, again, it's the sort of aircraft that once you see it, many people, are attracted to go and own it. So this is our best selling point for first-time buyers is when they try the aircraft, and sometimes we help them also trying it by chartering an aircraft for them. And yeah, this is basically how it works. Now, is there still a market for first-time buyers? Absolutely. There's still a lot of people around the world, be it people, highly influential people, or corporates or governments. Governments, we're seeing a big trend now with all what's happening around the world. Some of them who didn't own an aircraft, they are approaching us and saying, yeah, we're interested now to having our own autonomous business tool. So there is still a lot of potential out there.
So when you've got governments flying around the world negotiating trade deals, that's an opportunity for aircraft manufacturers. Louisma, we've got a couple of questions from the audience. Richard Hodkinson is asking, what's the typical cruise altitude and steps for a 10-hour flight? Louisma, can you hear us?
Yes, so cruise altitude, we can go to flight level 410. Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you guys. You hear me now?
Sorry. No, I heard you.
Yes.
That was great. Sorry.
So what I was saying is typical cruise. Yeah. Cruise level is flight level 410, so 41,000 feet on the ACJ single aisle family, the 220 as well. And you mentioned as well for a 10-hour range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 10-hour range, we are talking roughly 4,000 nautical miles, and the speed we are looking is Mach 0.0, something like that is a typical cruise speed as well for the particular type profile.
Yeah, Mike McCracken was asking for typical cruise speed. So you're saying Mach 0.8. 0.8. Okay, brilliant. Okay, that's great. We've answered 2 questions. Actually, I know you always get asked this, but what new trends are you seeing? What are people asking for in cabins?
So it is a very standard question. What we're seeing, especially with the ACJ 220, if people are coming from a competitor of a business jet or even a single aisle, like Chadi was saying, then they're looking for still that open space, that living areas that can be very spacious to take advantage of the A220 interior. We're seeing a lot of the private spaces as well, because with the 220, we can actually offer a bedroom with a king size bed, a US king size. So they can feel refreshed when they land because they were able to get an actual night's sleep, for example, with that. We're also seeing a lot of the connectivity and the technology being brought into the interiors and being able to control the cabin features, the lighting, the window shades with their own personal device. But what's most interesting to me, if they're coming from, say, a single aisle, it's not uncommon for them to have a very personalized cabin, whether it's the materials selected or the floor plans. So we're seeing a lot of that now being brought to the A220, which is really exciting for a designer that they want to, make some personalized material choices, things like that.
So I've been on a couple of the first A220s. Do you have a favorite?
It's hard to pick a favorite, of course. I do love ATT1 just because it really brings to life that spacious cabin that we're offering, and kind of the mix of the lounge spaces, the business, but also that personal private space. So
I think I prefer the second one personally, but that's just me.
yeah.
Okay, we've got Nitin. We've seen a massive rise in demand for utility helicopters in the last few years. We've seen a big rise in government missions and defence. Are there still slots for Airbus corporate helicopters?
Yeah, so certainly, obviously, when you look at the overall market for helicopters, there's about 9,000 turbine helicopters operational in North America, about 7,000 in the US. And they represent all different segments, right? There's the air medical, there's the commercial utility, like you referred to, public services. Private business has always been a pretty big part of that, right? I mentioned 1,900 of those 7,000 helicopters in the US are private and business use. And when you look at the number of helicopters we sell globally every year, about 20% of those are representing the private and business use. So yeah, they will always be, as it's almost equally important segment than others.
If I may,
Okay,
Al,
great.
this is another important aspect as well on the aviation side, on the fixed wing side, because slots are becoming really an issue. With I think we just released our March sales figures. I think our backlog now is over, Airbus backlog is over 8,700 aircraft. So, and we're seeing a new wave of renewal in the business aviation market, and this is not only for the US, it's also for the rest of the world, with a very, very big demand on the wide body side as well. So on the wide body side, slots are becoming a real serious issue. And lastly, if I may say, there's also constraints on the outfitting side of the business. So for Comlux and for the rest of the outfitters, where slots with outfitters are becoming also difficult. So this is another constraint to be taken into account by anyone who's looking at at these kind of aircraft in the next couple of years.
Is that both the slots? Is it a similar constraint for both wide bodies and narrow bodies?
It's even more for wide bodies, because not everyone can outfit wide bodies. There's more outfitters who can handle single aisles than wide bodies. And wide bodies as well, there is really a very, very big demand currently. And considering the volumes that we produce much lower volumes than single aisles. So you can easily understand the difficulty to have early positions.
And also, you had a record year last year for ACJ.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did have a very good year, and this year is looking also pretty good. We've secured 11 firm orders plus several purchase rights last year, including some 350s. So this is also, we're very proud of what we did last year for sure.
So can you give some guidance if I wanted to buy one today? When could I take delivery?
Well, on the single aisle side, we're still privileged in Airbus, where we have some pre-allocated positions for us. Otherwise, it would be 2031 for a green aircraft. So it's as you can understand, this would be a no-brainer for an individual or a government. They will just run away very quickly. On the wide body, we're starting to look at the next decade. It's getting really, really tough. So on the single aisle, we still can do a fully outfitted aircraft in the next 28, 30, 36 months for an entry into service.
Okay, Robert, I'm going to order today. How keen are you on financing ACJs? And
So
large VVIP?
I want to say thank you to the ACJ team for the thoughtful design on the 220, because it makes it easier for a financier to get their arms around financing that aircraft in particular. The classic issue with the bizliners has been the high customization, which when you say high customization, that's great for the initial customer, but probably not so great for the second customer, which translates to some questions about how much you should be financing as a financier and what the liquidity is in that aircraft. So the 220 looks very nice in terms of the modular design. We expect that one coming out, yes, the customers have some ability to customize and pick their fabrics and the mood of the aircraft, but it's a little bit like the competitors. They're gonna have a similar look and feel to some degree, which means that when you have the first customer, the second customer is more likely to accept that layout and feel that it's not an outlier in terms of a cabin outfitting, which translates into better financeability. So that customer, when Chadi and the team sign them up, Global Jet Capital can be there for progress payment financing. It's something that we do. A lot of our competitors do not. So we can help that build out construction finance requirement. And then when it comes to financing that aircraft, it becomes much more of a mainstream asset category, therefore much more financeable. Clearly, you're still looking at credit quality for customer, jurisdiction, all those good factors, but it will be a more readily financeable asset.
Chadi, is that a fact that Robert's argument about customization on traditional ACJs? A lot of them have got a very similar layout, haven't they?
Well, yes and no, Al. You can do anything. When you're speaking about customized ACJ 319 or 320, some of them are really VVIP aircraft. Some others are simply governmental aircraft with a very simple layout. Basically, this is the advantage of these kind of aircraft, where you can do anything you want. So Robert is right. It's highly customized. Now, some of these aircraft retain, the more standardized, the more you standardize the cabin, you don't make it completely fancy, the easier you will have to resell it, to retain value, or even to gain value, because some of these aircraft have been sold on the market for a higher value than what they were bought for, because of the early availability, because of the immediate availability. So it is true what Robert is saying now, and this is what we've done with the 220, where we have a standard layout where people cannot do anything they want. This is constraining. However, from a financing perspective, from a residual value perspective, it provides some guarantees to both the owner and the financier.
Ashley, when you're designing a ACJ 220, does it feel limited compared to doing a narrow body ACJ, or do you still have enough options?
I would say, well, it's obviously limited, but sometimes that can be a good thing at the start, because when you have unlimited possibilities, it's sometimes difficult for the customer to know exactly what they want. So it is a positive in that sense. And with just the 6 different zones and the amount of options per zone, plus then you get into the material options, yes, you're limited, but they can really make a cabin that feels unique to themselves while staying within the catalog options. So
I can see this completely. There's just too many options. It's like, it's bad enough putting a kitchen into your house and to choose everything. Like doing a whole.
It can be overwhelming. Yep. So.
Louisa, have you found that with any of your customers who've looked at the? Do you ever get a customer looking at an ACJ 220 and also looking at an ACJ 19, or are they different buyer groups?
Sorry, Al, can you repeat, because I'm having a little bit of connection issues.
Sorry, I was saying, do you ever get customers choosing between an ACJ 220 and an ACJ 19, or are they different customer groups?
You want me to take it, Wisma, because of the connection? Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
Chadi.
Yeah,
Sorry.
if you don't mind, because I'm going in and out. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Well, yes, Al. Normally, people, when they come to us, they know what they want, sort of, because most of the targets that we're targeting with the 220 is actually current large jets owners or first-time buyers. What we've seen is that actually 90% of the current A220 customers and prospects are people who owns today a large cabin aircraft and who are just looking to upgrade. And so they are quite cautious on the budget side because, again, we're talking about the 30 million gap between the 220 and the 319 in terms of pricing. So this makes a big difference. 319, 320 customers are really people who are looking for either the flexibility to design their own cabin because it's a personal project they want to do, or the capacity because you have several governments or football teams or sports teams who are looking for a capacity aircraft that can transport 20, 30, 40 passengers or even sometimes more in full business class or full economy class or whatever. So they're looking for a specific tool for that. And this is where the 220 today, with its current configuration, is not suited for.
We've got a question from Mike McCracken at Hawkeye. If someone is selling an ACJ, what is their next aircraft? Chadi?
It's a good question. I hope it definitely an ACJ, but a bigger one. What I can tell you is the following. What we have noticed is that most of the 318 buyers, owners, have upgraded at some time to 319s. When we started the 319, 320 Neo, when we launched the Neo family, bringing to the market up to 20% fuel improvement and some other also important factors such as noise in the cabin and outside the cabin, and sustainability as well, the impact on the environment. Most of these 319 owners, they upgrade to 320. So there is a trend, basically, when you have an aircraft to go for larger aircraft. And this is true as well for the other OEMs, to be honest. So this trend is there, be it for a government or a corporate. The corporate, they want to fly more and more executives on board, as the survey shows, actually. Governments, they have more and more delegations to transport. So the trend, most of the time, you stay loyal to your OEM, and this is the difficulty sometimes to move people from other OEMs to us. But once you start with ACJ, most of the time, if not all the time, you stay with ACJ.
One of the OEMs I was talking to last week was saying that they were, with all the turmoil, and we're seeing, flights being cancelled and commercial demand changing, that they thought there might be an advantage for business aviation where companies need to use, their own aircraft, and corporate shuttles are a good example of this. Are you optimistic that that you can get more sales in that market?
Absolutely, and we're seeing it already. COVID helped business aviation in general. All right, and this is, be it again on the individual side or on the corporate or the governments. And today's environment where, there are some congestions at some airports, some geopolitical reasons, people, cannot travel like they wanted before, and so on and so forth. It is boosting business aviation in general. So this is good for the whole industry, for sure.
And Nitin, you're seeing this with corporates wanting corporate transports.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Shadi said, I mean, really what we see with corporate helicopters as well, that they've really, lasted at a same sort of a level through the test of times. COVID was one. There's been other cyclical variations in different segments on the helicopter market. But when it comes to private and business use, and increasingly even more business use, we're seeing a consistent demand.
I think, just to give you a figure, Al, EBAA have made some statistics showing that, in average, using business aviation compared to commercial aviation on a specific sector, you're saving 127 minutes. This is an average. So you're saving 2 hours to a bit more than 2 hours of your time, being a businessman or being a government. You do this on 2 or 3 segments throughout the day. When a government goes to 2 or 3 countries, visiting 2 or 3 countries in a day, which happens, just imagine the number of hours you're saving, be it for business or for political reasons.
Robert, I think we talk a lot about ultra high net worth outside the US buying aircraft. You're head of international sales. Are you seeing an increased demand from international corporates?
In a lot of parts of the world, Al, there is kind of a blur between ultra high net worth and corporate. So I would say, leave Europe aside, but the rest of the world, really, if you're talking ultra high net worth, chairman of a corporation. So it kind of blurs together. And yes, that class of buyer is still keen to upgrade. We're seeing a lot of positive activity in Southeast Asia. India is a very strong market right now. China is very quiet, and Europe is quite resilient despite everything that's going on. So yeah, still very strong demand at the top end of the market.
You'd say Europe is what, just quietly going on with business?
Yeah, look, we're still doing deals in Europe. We're still getting requests for financing in Europe. It is robust, and I think, as Chadi said, the case for business aviation is as strong as it has ever been. So yeah, if you have the means and you can step into a business jet, it is a time machine. People always are moving up in space and in capability. They like the latest technologies. So if they have the means, they want these assets.
And Chadi, any thoughts on what you're seeing in Europe at the moment?
On what side? Political side or tariffs or business aviation?
Whichever side you want to cover.
Life is great, Al. Life is great. No. Business at the moment for us, I'm not gonna tell you it's more active than ever on the private side. It's not the case, all right? It's quite active on the governmental side, on the corporate side, but on the private sector, it's not the most active market in the world. For us, from our side, the active markets are still the US because of the volumes that you can see and the potential there. This is obvious, with 60% of the world market share in business aviation there. But also we're seeing a very big demand in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, just like Robert is seeing. So this is where we stand. In Europe, again, on the governmental side, there is a significant increase in the activity.
There's a lot of meetings coming up. On the let's not. We did tariffs yesterday. I don't want to do too much, but just confirm where ACJ 220s are made, and also Airbus also manufactures in America, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to speak about tariffs, but clearly we know Airbus. We have a significant presence in both the US and Canada, with several assembly lines going from the 220 to the 320 and 321. The 220 is manufactured and assembled in both Canada and the US, and 320, 321, we have assembly lines in the US with thousands of people working there. So that's all what I can tell you regarding that. Now on the tariffs, we will see. It's changing every day, right? So we will see. But I will tell you today, it won't be true tomorrow, as you just told me, Al, regarding yesterday's town hall.
Yeah, it's already out of. In fact, it's none of us have been checking our phones while this has been going on. So who knows what's happened? We've got one last question to end on from Rafael Valor. Chad, I'm going to let you go first with this. Is the A330 ACJ the best ACJ?
Well, it's honestly, there's no best or not best. Every single aircraft is suited for a special mission. The 330 is an extremely popular wide body. It's actually most probably the most popular wide body which is flying currently in the world, historically speaking. We have seen last year a record number of sales in terms of wide bodies in Airbus between the 330 and the 350. Now, based on that, it's a platform which is mature, which is proven, and you have between 216 square meters to, or even more with the 330-900 to do whatever you want to inside in terms of cabin. So you have a large space that you can install on one of the most mature and popular wide bodies in the world. So if your mission is a 18, 19 hours mission where you need to transport large delegations of, can be 100, 150 people if need be, or if you, for your corporation, you need to transport that level of elegance or an emir or a sheikh or whatever, then definitely, yeah, it's a fabulous platform for sure.
Ashley, which is of the, I know you do other aircraft, of the Airbus products, which is your favorite to design for?
My favorite, I mean, since I've been at Comlux, I've been focused on the 220 project mostly. So I have to say that one just, it's near and dear to my design heart. So, yeah.
And Robert, your favorite one to finance is the 220?
Yeah, the 220, I think, is the winner from a financier's perspective because there's the opportunity for this to be a bigger program. The ACJ 330 is always going to be a very bespoke, one-off kind of thing. They're great. But from a financier's perspective, we're looking for deeper markets, a more installed base. And as the 220 matures and you have numbers of people around the world in that platform, that becomes more liquid. And therefore, we get interested in it.
And thanks to Ashley, you know that the 220, unlike some VVIP aircraft where you do walk on them and go, gosh, this is horrible. So far the 220s are looking great.
Yes, so far.
Yeah, look, I don't want to say that ACJ regular 319s or 320s are not financeable. They're very financeable, but I think people have different considerations, right? So you might look at a lower advance rate. You might take into account the cost of transitioning one interior to the next. So people do finance them, and they're wonderful long-lived assets, of course, but it's more bespoke. So what we're hoping for the 220 success is that it looks and feels a little bit more like some of its competitors. They move more freely between customers. They're more common, and therefore more financeable.
Okay, that was brilliant. I could ask you all, I'm toying with asking you all if you think you're going to have a better year for your business in 2025 than 2024. Does anyone want to answer that?
We're going to have a great year, but for us, it's going to be tough to beat 2024, to be honest, Al. Otherwise, but we're going to have a great one for sure.
You had a great out there. Robert, did you want to say anything?
Look, 2024 was a great year for Global Jet Capital. Really a wonderful rebound from the post-COVID lows, if you will, and really getting back to pre-COVID kind of levels. We've had a great start to the year. Obviously, tariffs causing people to kind of pause a little bit, but what we're seeing, it's going to be a good year. So let's hope things return to normalcy on the economic front.
Robert, is it the tariffs or the market reaction to the tariffs?
Yeah, it's really the market reaction, right? So if your business aviation is very much about confidence, as you know, Al, people want to make a longer term confident decision getting into a jet, upgrading, trading, buying. So the minute confidence gets a little shaky, that has an impact on people's behaviors. And if people knew exactly what the landscape was, they can plan for it. They can go forward with their lives. It's just the fact that, as you say, every day is a different story, and that you need some stability to make decisions like this.
And if you're flying around the world trying to negotiate trade deals, nothing beats the comfort of a VVIP airliner. Thank you so much to Chadi from Airbus Corporate Jets. Louisma, thank you very much. Sorry we lost you briefly. Ashley,
Yeah,
thanks so much
thank
for
you, guys.
joining us from Comlux. Nitin, it's always great to hear from Airbus Helicopters. Thank you. And Robert, always a pleasure to have Global Jet Capital. Thanks very much to everyone who's joined us around the world. Stay
you, Al.
safe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.